Okay, that brace is in now. So I guess the next stage is cutting these slots out. But I'm going to have to support the back of the cabin before I start cutting. I have to try and support it either side of the cut, because I can't let the back of the cabin drop over the chassis if I haven't cut the front, because then that's going to put a twist in it. It's going to sort of it's going to want to try and kick the front end up, and I've got to stop that from happening. So yeah, when I cut through all this wood here, I'll make sure I put something else in under there to keep this sitting where it is at the moment, and then I'll do the same with the front. When I'm ready to cut that, I'll somehow fix it in place, make the cut, and then when I'm ready to drop the cabin, I'll do it on all four corners at the same time, so it just comes down in one piece, doesn't get twisted. Okay, one thing you got to be really careful of when you're working on these old wooden framed cabins is, I don't know if you can see that, they've got smoke coming out from behind there. Whole lot of sparks have gone in there from the angle grinder in behind this this door jamb, and I've got a little fire behind there. Oh, nothing for me to worry about at the moment, but you might be able to see some of the embers falling out. Just had a couple then. So I just give that a squirt down with some water. Probably always important to keep a squirt bottle filled when you're doing any welding or grinding, just in case you do get fires. Yeah, there's still more smoke coming out of there, so there's definitely some burning embers in there. The last thing I want is my garage going up, having that smouldering all day, going in tonight when I'm finished out here for the day, and then all of a sudden my garage is on fire at about 11 o'clock in the evening. So I'll get some water and wash that down. Okay, I've drenched that in water, as you can see. That's still actually got embers falling out of the bottom of it, so there's still a fire inside there. You can see one there. So yeah, I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it all day and keep drenching it with water. Okay, I've made some cuts here. Oh, that's sharp. I've made some cuts here. I haven't been able to get right through the blade from the top. I'll have to come up from underneath just to nick that back corner out on both sides. That'll take that out. As you can see here, I've just cut the body, and that piece of timber that was jammed in behind that piece of right angle, I used a saw to cut up through most of it, and then I just used the chisel to sort of clean out the bits and pieces. So got to start there. So now I'll do the other side. As you can see, I supported that with a block of wood under that right angle. It stopped the whole cabin from coming down whilst I was cutting it. So I'll do the same on that side. I'll prop it and I'll cut it and get that side finished. As you can see, just here in this opening, we've got timber. I've got to cut up each side of that now with the saw, and when I get so far through, then I'll chisel the rest out. They did say that curiosity killed the cat, but I couldn't wait. And I've I've still got to go more. I've still got to cut that right angle inside the cabin to get the extra, whatever it is, the extra 15 millimeters that I need. As you can see, I can still get my fingers under there, so I've got to drop it that much more, and that's what'll happen when this section here comes out. That'll drop down. It's a pity, because that would have been great. I could have bolted that straight to the chassis, and that would have been the cabin mounting point. But unfortunately, I need that extra 15 millimeters, and I've got to take that out so I can drop it down a bit further. It'll end up sitting just below this original cabin mounting point. I'll build some new mounting points off here. I'll leave that in place because it's going to be too much of a hassle to move that one. The front one, this one's going to be an issue for me, because I need to drop this, and this is going to get in the way. And these are fastened in with 3 rivets, but they're not domed head, they're flat. I have an air chisel, but it's a useless piece of shit, and it'll take me forever to get those out. I don't have an oxyacetylene torch where I can put a cutting tip on the end of it to blow the heads off them, so I'm stuck there. So I don't really know how I'm going to get this off. I don't want to try and stick a big grinder blade in behind that, because that'll nick into the chassis there, and I really don't want to score it up if I don't have to. So I've got to come up. I've got to try and find a way to get these 3 heads ground down, and then I can just pop that straight off and mount that down here somewhere. I can reuse it, but the back ones I'm not particularly bothered about. They'll clear when I drop the cabin, so why move them? Let's make some new ones. Okay, everything that I was doing today sort of come to a big standstill at the moment. I've got a mate coming over tomorrow. What he's going to help me do is we're going to leave the cabin on the chassis, and we're going to flip it over onto its back. We're going to lay the back section of this down onto here, and that'll allow me to get in to here and cut those 2 sections out, and that'll also allow me to get into the front here and cut what I need to cut out of here, and also cut that in along there. And then once we're done with that, we'll just roll it back over again, and that'll be roughly where it's going to sit. In one of the other videos I was saying that I thought that dropping this cabin 65 millimeters was going to be a little bit of an issue with the steering, but provided I mounted the steering column a little higher in the cabin, you know, as the cabin dropped, the shaft should pretty much stay in the same position that it was in before I dropped the cabin. So yeah, I've just used a self-tapping screw, lifted the whole base of the column up, the 65 millimeters, and there we go. I've still got lots of clearance there. Now we've just got to drop it down so that this uni ends up being back down here again, and we'll pass by the exhaust manifold, because at the moment that would be hitting it. But once we drop that down, that'll go back into that gap there and straight down to the rack. So it's going to work out. It's going to work out really good. The angle on my steering wheel is less than I thought. I thought it might have been a little bit straighter, but it's still got a nice angle to it, and there's still plenty of room there between the dashboard and my hand. So yeah, very happy. It's turned out good. I'll give you a look at this one. I finished this one off. as well. So we'll get both of those finished off tomorrow. I don't want to cut these off yet, because what I'll do is I'll roll that back down, and then I'll roll a lip underneath. So I won't cut it right on that line there. I'll cut it, say, I don't know, 10-15 millimeters back along the panel here, and then I can put a right angled bend into it, just like what would have been on the bottom of the cabin. So yeah, I'm not going to cut that off yet. I've got all that temporary piece of floor out, which is up behind that that post for the garage. I just had that sitting in here as a temporary floor, but we can see in here a lot better now. You can see this handbrake cable, which came off that 79 Fairmont station wagon. I've just stretched it up as far as it'll go, and I've just used a bit of coat hanger wire just to hold that in place there, just to get a bit of an idea for length. You know, I think this cable will be okay. I'll be able to use this, but what I'll have to do is come up with a slightly different setup here. Cut that cable right in the guts there, slide this sleeve off, because I don't really need that anymore. Have some balls swaged onto the end of these cables, and then put them into some sort of saddle retainer, or I might even be able to use this and just cut a bit of a slot, in the back side here, and then clip the ball in. I've got to take a bit of a look at it. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, and get a good look at those exhausts there. Extremely tight. That one bolts up not too bad, but when you do tension the nuts, the pipe ends up hitting the chassis, so I do have to scallop a little bit out of the chassis. That side's a lot worse. Could be a slightly different angle on the exhaust manifold. The engine's definitely not off centre. It's smack bang on, so I'm not exactly sure what the deal with that is, but yeah, same deal. I've got to scallop it out a little bit on that side, but yeah, I can run those stock exhaust manifolds, which is really good. And I've got lots of clearance right around everything here, so the engineer that checks all this out shouldn't have any dramas with clearance. Get a bit better look at the transmission cross member. Really nice welds on it. Very basic, you know. No show car, as you know by now. Just a daily driver, cheap budget build, you know, but everything's solid. Use those original Ford transmission bolts out of the 79 Fairmont. So, you know, they're factory proven, so that's good. Might be able to get a bit better look now that we've got some light in here. This is that bar that I moved a little earlier. You know, it's all tacked in there, or not tacked in, but that's good enough. It's never going to be seen once the upholstery goes in. Finish our cut off tomorrow on both sides. My fire's out finally, after I tipped 3 litres of water on it. No word of a lie, the garage floor is still wet. It just kept burning and burning and burning. Didn't want to go out. I think this had asbestos in it back in the day, and I think it was that was in behind that doorpost that caught fire. Hopefully I didn't breathe too much of it in. If I did, well, we'll know in a few years' time, won't we? Not much else to really tell here, but now that we got the light, I can show you a bit better how this all goes in. So this door frame, this door jamb comes down right down to the floor here, and then this metal section here is part of the cowl, the steel cowl, and it was just screwed in or bolted in through here, and that's basically what held the cabin to the cowl. And there's not a lot of it left, not a lot of that door frame left anymore, so that'll all get replaced with some of that stuff there and make it nice and strong. The only thing that I'm really worried about when we do drop the cabin down is this lip here hitting my rocker cover. As it sits there at the moment, there's probably 25 millimeters of clearance before it will actually hit the that lip on the rocker cover. So I may have to notch the firewall out a little bit here, which I'm sort of really spewing about, because I'd love to have kept, you know, if I don't have to hack into the original body too much, you know, that's a good thing. And this has got a nice lip that runs right around, and you know, it's recessed for the floor pan on the other side, and if I start cutting this out, then I lose that recess. You see here, so you know, I think there's going to be a bit of an issue around this area here, so it might have to come down a little bit.